I think we got the first few people in there, so I'm just going to do the introduction, and I'm really glad because we have some really cool guests today here. We have, let's start with Levi. So we have Levi Yarde here, who is a bass player and session bass player, played with Stormzy, with Emeli Sande, with played Glastonbury, Brit Awards this year, and lots of other big shows. Yeah, anything you want to add on that introduction?
No, I think that's cool, man.
Great.
Yeah. He's a top guy.
Great. And then our second guest is Ricci Riccardi, who is a drummer and musical director and worked with lots of different artists, including the Spice Girls on their last big tour, 2019. Musical directing, helping to build the show. And yeah, we're really glad to welcome you to ICMP.
Thanks for having us, man.
Great. I'm just gonna stop my video now and leave you guys for a bit. Enjoy it.
Perfect.
Sweet, man. Hi everyone that's in here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for tuning in. Literally, this is just a Q&A with Ricci. Ricci's a great drummer, a great musical director. We met in 2018 when I covered a few gigs for Melanie C, which was really dope. And I remember that was my first experience of working out of the circle of people that I knew. And I remember getting in a room with everyone that I didn't know, and I saw Ricci, and Ricci was the most chilled MD, let me get on with my thing, and it was so cool to work with. But we're going to ask him a few things about his career, his experiences, and what he gets up to, his job roles and the hats that he wears. Feel free to ask questions in the Q&A. And yeah, we're going to get into it. Ricci, man.
Yo.
How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I've been looking forward to chatting to you.
I haven't seen you since the Austria gig.
Absolutely. I know, that was fabulous. What another brilliant memory, eh? Takes us all over the place, music. It's a wonderful thing.
It's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Firstly, I want to get into your upbringing, man. How did it all start for you?
So basically, I started in a really small town in the south of England called Swanage. It's tiny. And my parents were musicians. My dad, I said my parents, my dad was a musician. He was in bands, and I always used to travel around and go and watch him do gigs. And yeah, then I thought, man, that's great. I want to have a go at that. So I used to jump behind the drum kit and just sort of play around in his rehearsals. And then I kind of just carried on playing drums, and it became the thing. And then eventually I started to, play seriously, and I took lessons. I did my first gig when I was about 13. I was doing a blues gig in a local pub, and I got paid £10 and I had a pint of Coke, and I gave my brother £3 to set my drums up for me. So I started early. But no, and my brother is now also a fantastic and well-established guitar player in the industry. But him and I, just worked together, and eventually from Swanage went to study in Los Angeles.
Nice.
And then came back to England and started my career basically up in London.
Nice. When did you come back?
So when did I come back, or why?
Yeah. No, when?
When? The 11th, the September the 11th, on, the 9/11.
Wow.
Yeah, right before we came back. So I got back, and we, so we came home, and I remember coming from LA, living, and then going straight back to Swanage, and I had all this information from being out in America. Mm-hmm. And I went to America because obviously at the time it was the hub, it still is a hub of music in Los Angeles. A lot of, I know there's a big, perception of American music, American musicians versus English and English styles. And my teacher in England was actually a BBC big band drummer. I had a fabulous teacher before I went, and his name was Paul Brodie. Sadly, he's passed away. But he was the BBC big band drummer. And he'd studied the American way. He studied in New York, and everything he taught me was of that American sort of drill, tempo, and play it till it's clean, play it till it's right. So I just kind of really got on with that style of learning, really, and it was just more of that over in America. Actually, my experience when I was in America in MI, I actually ended up not taking the main courses. I found some other ways to learn out there. One of them was lessons with a bass player. And drummer, it was a really useful thing to do, because if a bass player is telling you what he thinks about what you're playing, it is you and me. It's like, that's the thing. So it was a great thing to do, and just finding those little things to try and get as much information out of a situation as possible, as much to learn, because there's so much, and that's out there's where I started to get into sort of studio and songwriting, and so yeah.
How come you didn't stay out there?
I think because of the green card situation. We have a really good friend who lived in Canada, and he stayed, and he's in a band called Lifehouse, who are doing very well. So he's like an American rock and roller. Lovely guy. He was a bass player as well. So him, myself, and my brother, there's a little trio. We used to jam. Yeah. Like, obviously, I'm sure you could vouch for this, but we used to jam until forever. So school would finish at 5. We'd get food, back to the college for 6, and we'd play till midnight. Just jam anything, making it up, tunes, and that it just really helps, to start your expression and your language of music, and to explore avenues, and especially when you don't have to worry about boundaries. I'm sure when you play with a certain group of musicians or people, you push each other, and it's not about the judgment anymore. It's about the exploration. People, you trust each other, and you have this wonderful, you can talk and try things, and and help each other. So it was a brilliant experience, and I kind of. For other musicians, I was jamming is just getting together and just playing and pushing each other is a wonderful, a great thing to do. But in a safe environment where no one's judging you, no one's questioning, because it's obviously it's can be a very judgmental industry.
It's very judgmental. Yeah, even before anyone's judging, you feel like you're getting judged.
Absolutely. And part of it is that we take it on ourselves, obviously, because you spend such a long time to try to get your skill and your craft together, and to try to be the best. What you can do, what you can be, and know your boundaries, know what you do, and I think the older I get, the more you feel confident with what it is that you bring to a gig. Instead of trying to bring everything to a gig, you can't. There's only you can only be who you are.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
How did what you studied, how did that contribute a lot to the musicians and the jobs you do today? Directly from what you studied? Yeah,
it did, because there was, the thing that I really love about music, especially being a drummer, and I also got into production, which we can get onto a little bit later, but how... it's how I became an MD, really, getting into production and songwriting. But the study of groove and feel, and being able to be, learning about music in a way, all the information you'll ever need is on the records that you listen to. Do you know what I mean? Everything is there. Whether it's 80s music with on the grid drums programs, that still have a good feel to them somehow, because the tail of the drums is timed to come off at a certain time. Even though the transient is on the grid, where that tom or snare drum stops ringing gives it a feel somehow. So it's those kind of things. And so when the musicians that I enjoy playing with are people that are sympathetic to those kind of things. They're because it's they have a. And it doesn't always have to be something that's studied either. It can be something that is it's just a feel thing, and energy is something. Let me tell you guys, no one is more energetic on the stage than Levi. When it comes to making noise and shaking the room, there's Levi. He's the ultimate, and that is. But that's a great thing. Is the energy, having that energy and that. I like, you know, I love musicians that dictate their presence and their job to, you know, in the room. It's like, this is bass, this is how the bass is, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, obviously they're listening and sympathetic, but when delivering there's a confidence that comes with what you're playing. But even if you play it wrong, it doesn't matter. We can fix those things afterwards. But the point is that confidence is there, it doesn't matter. So it's like, for me, it was kind of that, really. It's the other things in music that you can learn, that, you know, that aren't directly just notes and scales and things like that. And that was kind of being around those people in America and American sort of style and also, you know, studying those, you know, the greats, the Piccaros, the Gads, the Weckels, the Vinnies, the Teddy Campbell. I love Teddy Campbell's, again, like, you know, I as a gospel drummer, like he's a beautiful gospel drummer, but has a really musical feel to how he plays, and it's those musical, sympathetic things, and that's kind of how I got into you know, the players that I like over here. Yeah. So it did, in essence, it does affect and affect. Yeah.
What advice would you give to the students, upcoming students that are going to come to this uni, and students in here? What advice would you give to them to take from university and application into job, if you get what I mean? Yeah,
I do. My teacher always used to say to me, his one phrase was, "You can't hang your diploma over the end of your drum kit." That's what he used to always say to me. Mm-hmm. So my thing I would say is it's the, you know, learning systems are designed and they're really important, you know, because it's a way to teach you how to learn a language like French. You know, if for example, you don't go to France and say, "Hey guys, I am A star plus," you know, it doesn't matter. Yeah. That's irrelevant. You've got, as long as you're getting from the system of learning what you want and what you need, that's what you've got to take from going to the college, I would say, and the uni. If you find, like I did in America, that something wasn't working for you, then find something else that can work for you within the same system. You go, okay, right, well, you know, because I was lucky when I went to study. I'd studied a lot with this American teacher, so I'd done quite a lot of things. But you know, I went to the head of the college and I said, "Hey, what should I?" This was MI. I said, you know, "What should I do, man? I mean, I feel like I'm just repeating what I already know." And he said, obviously, practice. You know, that goes without, you know, practice, but proper practice. You know, practice things you can't do as well as things that you can do, and it's really important that. But he said, as well as that, he said, find something to make the most of it. He said, "Why don't you take lessons with a bass player then?" And I thought, great, that's a great idea. Yeah. And it was doing that. And then I took studio lessons, and I took lessons in programming drums and drum machines, and I was like, this is really cool. I'm getting stuff that I didn't know, as well as still getting stuff from the drum. You know, I preferred the private one-on-one lessons when I was in MI. So I'd make sure I had enough from there to spend, and then I'd go to a lot of the workshops, the live playing workshops, the things that are real world, you know, because ultimately I think we've all heard it a lot, especially when you watch these people online on YouTube. You get, everybody says, you know, the technique and the technical ability of the musicians that you see, and especially the virtuosos these days, is astounding. I mean, the amount it's come on from when I was growing up watching drummers play. I was, you know, into Vinny's was my favourite, but then I'm watching, you know, there was Terry Bozzio, who had just started this ostinato thing, and then people, you know, playing his top hands over the top, keeping his feet doing something else. There were these wondrous things that were really only very good for the practice room or a kind of clinic, you know.
Yeah.
But ultimately those things are so useful, because that's the fundamentals of the language, you know. The rudiments, the scales, the technique, all of that is really important. But then, as long as you can think about how you would apply it to the real world, then I think you're going to get yourself on the right track to have a career in music. And also, one thing to add to that is, do as much as you can. I think something really important is singing. So many people or musicians don't sing. Now, but you see, I got into that early and trying to play as other instruments. You know, it's a really useful skill. Like So my other second instrument is guitar. I play a lot of guitar, generally acoustic now, but back in the day I used to play electric a lot as well. But guitar and singing, you know, and you can put yourself in a different state, a different position on the stage and understand. So, you know, when I'm talking to a singer or an artist or people like that, I can speak to them from the knowledge of knowing exactly what it's like to stand in front of a band on a big stage with in-ears in, trying to perform and sing, just singing without anything, no instrument, to a crowd. I can feel their pain. I understand where the difficulties are because I've done it myself. Obviously not in you know, to the level that they're doing it with the big up, you know, with the artist profile, but getting that experience is crucial. And also it makes you more valuable. So when you have a, you know, any situation, if there's a live lounge going on, they say, well, we can only afford 2 musicians. You go, well, if we get the drummer, he can sing, and then let's just get the guitar player, he can sing. Suddenly you've got 2 voices and 2 instruments, and you're getting more bang for your buck.
Yeah.
You know? And that's how it is. You know, we do a lot of gigs with Melanie where I kind of play cajon, guitar, sing, and have electronics, and it's like a weird hybrid setup. But it's you know, it's great because you can you know, it's first of all, it's something different. It's a good challenge. You know, for me, it's keeps me sane. Not sane is not the word, but it's like challenging you. So you're not just sitting down and playing the same things that you already know. And, you know,
easy for you, man.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. So yeah, I would say definitely. So whatever you do, maximize the teaching facilities, the teaching, the practice as much as you can. Maximize the teaching system that's there. Whether you want to get involved in something else, if it's like if you want to look at the Gavin Harrison in magical rhythms thing because you're a drummer that wants to do that, or you want to go classical, or you know, whatever it is, talk to your tutors, talk to the people in the faculty, and they will help guide you and help you make it what you want it to be, because it only happens once and it will slip away and you'll get to the end of it and go, man, I didn't do anything, and then now I'm left to go and do a gig and I kind of feel lost. But the best thing is to try to, whenever those times happen where you feel uninspired or not, or a bit lost with it all, I'd say, yeah, just do your best to try to find, just ask that question, is there something else I can do here to make more of this, you know? Yeah. That's what but ultimately I think it's great to learn. You've got to learn. We always learn forever. So yeah.
I think that's sound advice for all you guys. I think there's a lot you could take from that. Feel free to ask questions. I see 2 here. How do you both deal with performance nerves? Okay.
You go first. You go first.
Do you know what? I think the more you do something is the easier it becomes. I think when I did my first couple gigs, I think my second gig was a live lounge. And if I was to watch that live lounge, you'd see my hands shaking because I was so nervous. But I think over a period of time, the more you get at something is the easier it becomes. And then you become more composed at what you do, and you find ways of just being chilled before a show. I feel like I've been thrown in the deep end because a lot of times, a few of the shows that have been so important that I've had to be chilled, because if I'm not chilled, then it's on my name if something goes wrong. But yeah, I think just learn to be composed. Some people, I've watched some people meditate before a show so that they're just completely flat. I have like a brief moment to myself just to be cool. I don't like a lot of energy before the show, and then when everything goes well, then after the show I could be like excited. But yeah, that's for me. What about you, Rick?
It's a weird one being in a MDC, because part of the main worry for me is the fact that the show's actually gonna run properly. Yeah. So it's my head is often so deeply buried in the technical side of it that the playing side is kind of, you know, especially the first one of a run. So it's strange. I'm like, and then, you know, with the technicals, it's more like, are the computers going to work? Is everything going to, you know, trigger in time? Is the artist going to remember the cues? You know, you know, can we pace this correctly? Are we going to have a technical problem? You know, it's about those things, and my brain is obviously, you know, a lot thinking about those. One of the most ridiculous pressure situations I ever had was, and I never normally do this. Like, I'm quite used to dealing with the pressure, and I don't mind so much. You know, we've had things like 40 minutes before a live lounge, the artist changed the song. We haven't got an arrangement. You know, and I'm there, you know, but the thing is, I know I've got the right people around me in a band and music to go, right, guys, we've got 40 minutes. That's it. We've got to do this. And you've got to get it together, you know, and perform it. Great. Yeah. And then I've had, you know, stuff. I remember doing one extra. And again, like, you know, I had a rap. There was a rap. And about, again, half an hour before the show, management had come up and said, I think we need to put the censored rap out. And I was like, well, we haven't got the censored rap. They goes, well, we can't put it on radio. I'm like, well, brilliant. Like, so basically, what am I going to do? Do I have to sit half an hour before a show, get a laptop out, take the rap off the playback system, edit it, get all the swear words out of it, stick it back in? I remember literally the DJ was kicking off, subs going massive, crowd screaming, me and this guy, the monitor guy, I'm just there loading in this rap into this playback system.
Oh my God.
I had no idea. This thing's going out on, like, you know, radio to however many listeners on one extra. And I'm thinking, man, I've got to press play and hope for the best. Because normally I like belt and braces, check the playback, make sure everything's good. But yeah, you're dealing with situations like that where you kind of go, oh man, like it's out of your control, and you just have to kind of remain focused. And I think you're right, like the meditating thing. So another situation I was going to go into was in Glasgow. I'll never forget. One of the bands that we play with, they you know, sometimes rehearsals a short period. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to put a 26-song show set together in 3 days, and one of those days is a production rehearsal where the lights want to go, the sound want to go, and you're going like, oh my Lord, like this is hard, you know. And we're working overnight, and it's pressure. And I remember running the first run through all the way up to when the VIP sound check came in, and like you just have to make the call at that point and say, guys, we're carrying on with the rehearsal. The VIP sound check can happen, but we're just carrying on with the rehearsal. It's more important than this. You know, you have to make calls. And I never forget after that, literally getting off the stage and going for a walk for half an hour to get some fresh air, because I was like, this is crazy. Yeah. And then one of the things I tend to do as well, so again, thinking about it from that show running thing, is having a talkback mic. It was I never used to use a talkback mic much until we're only putting on a silly show at the Hippodrome. It was really a fun show. We had a lot of agents coming down, and I stupidly invited like all my musician friends, so suddenly I had 40 people on the stage. And everyone's going, and we're all going like, oh, brilliant. Only 4 of us have rehearsed and know what's going on here. So we're excellent. So I thought, I'll tell you what, don't worry. I'll just get a microphone and just talk into everyone's ears, and we'll just do a gig. And by having that kind of, you know, ability to chat within ears and that technology, you can create shows, and you can create the magic of a live performance without having to rehearse, and because you've got all the right guys around you to make it happen and make it right. So knowing I've got all those people around me from number one definitely really helps. I think staying calm is like you said, is really sensible. I mean, alcohol is a really interesting question, right?
I can do it, man.
Yeah, some gigs you prefer not to, or do?
I actually can't, man. I need to be 100% focused. Like, there can't be anything that fails. And then after the show's done, then I could drink.
I'm with you on that. Man. Some shows, like, I feel that a beer is, or you know, or drinking is good for the atmosphere, the environment. You know, certainly, like some shows are really, you know, are really hyped up. They're a little bit rock and roll. It works, you know, and I don't mind as long as I know everything's prepared. But I've had a few wake up calls where I know that if the playback rig stops or something happens, I'm there wailing away having a great time. However, as soon as that goes, I've got to fix it. It comes on my shoulders. And if I'm there and I've had, you know, a couple of beers and it's that fixing happens 10 seconds slower, then that's on mine. Exactly what you were saying. It's my name, it's my thing. So I have to really judge those situations. You know, certainly with the Spice Girls, I had not a drop until after the show. I was like, it just that kind of show, you go, no, I'm not even going to chance it. For those reasons, it's such a big organisation that you go, it's necessary. You know, I can wait till afterwards. It's fine. So, but yeah, because sometimes I was going to say it can settle the nerves.
Yeah.
So that's I'm talking about the performance thing. It can definitely settle the nerves, and and I agree with you. The other thing as well, the more you rehearse something, the more you know it like the back of your hand. So it comes, and you focus on all the minutiae that no one else is going to notice in that run through that they hear. You're going, oh man, I missed the second verse. It was so annoying. Yeah. Late on that note, or I missed that with the kick pattern. But everybody else go, oh, it was amazing. No, but even you are literally in that zone so much. So yeah, you're right. Prep, man. Prep. More prep will be less performance anxiety or less, performance nerve. And just be confident in both ways. Be confident in knowing what you're doing. Like even as a player, as a person, just go, I can do this. I know what I'm doing. Why I'm here. I've been asked to do the gig. I can do it. So just do it,
For sure.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question, Jess. Cool. There's a few more questions. Keep asking the questions and we'll get into them as we go along. Another question for you. Speaking to upcoming artists, which not everyone in here is a musician, we have artists in here. What key skills should they be developing now during their studies?
Yeah, okay. I think...
talk from you working with artists.
For artists, yeah?
Yeah, like just talk from your experience with artists and what the flaws they may have and what everyone could be working on before they get to the level.
I would say, as an artist, understand and do your best to understand every element of your business. So, although it's nice to focus on the music and be an artist, that is obviously what you need and what you need to do. But in this day and age, especially with what's going on with like things like at the moment, you need to be across every element of your business as much as possible. Even if you're not doing it, that doesn't matter, as long as you understand. So when, for example, there's a budget that comes out and you see like someone's telling you, oh, we can get rid of these crew because we can do that. And we can save you £500 a show because we can save you on 4 crew here per time. But what you need to understand is how much strain that might put on your core crew, the rest of the crew. You need to understand how, by limiting a dressing room rider, for example, to the band and say, look, okay, guys, you need to just be aware of how that might affect, or say there's no crew rider, or we're not providing catering. Understand how that affects what goes on the mood of the people on the tour. So to be aware of your budgets is crucial. Understand when you get a call from the record label who have called a car to come to your house to pick you up, to take you to a thing, and it's an Addison Lee A-class, A-class primary. Understand that's coming out of your budget. Understand that, because it's so important, because the margins are small these days for what can be made, and it's interesting. People often talk about the wages of musicians and how really over time they haven't really gone up. If anything, they've gone down. And as you get more and more, inflation and business moves on, it is just the way it is. And it can get to a stage like a crunch time in budgets where you think you're paying too much for something when maybe you might not be. And also, sometimes you are. And you need to know those. Really need to know what is a good price for a production manager. Do I need a production manager and a tour manager? Can he do both roles? What is the problem if I had a production manager who was also the front of house sound guy? What am I going to lose out? Am I going to lose out the guy that can usher me off the stage? Am I going to lose the guy that's going to make sure that the merch stand is fully stocked? I might be saving on having him doing front of house, but I'm selling £50 less merch tonight because he can't oversee that. So you've got to understand all of that. I think then once you're across your business, I think it's really important to try to understand as much as, again, understand from where you are, like the role of everyone in your team. So the musicians, the label, the management, really, get to the crux of what it's, just put yourself in those positions. I never forget in that rehearsal when Mel turned around to you and said, Levi, would you like to do that again? It just but because it's, I think it's a great attribute of an artist to understand that you might not be doing it for you, but you might have someone else in the room who is on your stage, that is depping, doing a wonderful job, but at the same time, it's like you said, the more you've done it, the better you're going to play it. If you understand that rehearsal is important, and don't just come in and do the run through one and walk off and then expect it to be super comfortable the next time you rock up. It's not going to put the time in, rehearse, understand what everyone in that room is doing to an extent. You don't have to have the skills. You just need to understand why they're there and what they're doing. And then there's a really funny story about that, actually. There was one artist that I was working with, and she just happened to say to the tour manager, "There's a guy I see here, and he's always sat in the corner on a box. Like, what's he here for? What does he do?" And the tour manager's response was, "Well, he just sits in a box in the corner." She goes, "Okay, fine, all right, great." But one of the things that I like to, especially if it's new crew, new people, try to be a link to everyone. Be friendly. It's not, everyone has an important role. So bands don't have an attitude. Make friends with your techs. Introduce the artist to the techs. Introduce, if you're the artist and the management, introduce management to the band. Let's get community. We need to feel happy moving forward together, and we need to feel that everyone can be comfortable to have a safe place to be able to express themselves, whether it's musically or vocally, whatever it is they want to say. If there's someone who goes, "Look, guys, I'm really sorry, but I've got to go because my daughter has a something," and I'm really, being able to understand that human place. Everyone has these things, and everyone, and if you'd be the artist, go, "Yeah, it's fine, it's cool," and then, but also if that, if you've got that rapport, then at the same time, they might turn around to you and say, "I really need you here for today," and you respect both ways, and it's that two-way thing. So I think that is important for the artist. And finally, I think a bit of production skill, I think, is a really interesting thing to think about. But if you can get used to using a GarageBand or a Pro Tools or a Logic or something like that, you can take a little bit of control of your music, and you won't have to be at the mercy of a recording studio or engineer to at least get things off the ground, at least put ideas down.
Yeah, especially right now.
Yes, man, exactly.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
I think right now that it's a good skill to have, and you won't be always relying on someone. And I think for me personally, I'm not an artist, but every time I have an idea, like I could just be walking and I have an idea of a run, and I'm voice noting it, so I just remember it, and then when I pick up my bass, I'm doing that. But it's good to jot down ideas, and then you may not touch that idea for 2 years. But you have it on your laptop because you record it on Logic because you knew how to use Logic. Yeah. It's a good skill to have.
Absolutely. Especially for singers, I would say, because here's the thing, singers, I would say, if you get asked to vocal on the DJ track or someone's, you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
Sit there with a laptop and go, "Oh, good, done. I'm happy with that now." You can go as many times as you want.
Yeah.
Send as many. You don't have to feel the pressure of a studio or time or money. Get it how you want it. Send it off. Then you're doing it yourself.
I think with more knowledge as well, then when you do go to the studio, you could be like, "Can I have this? Can I have more of this? Can you take that off?" And you actually know what you're talking about, so no one running rings around you and taking the mick out of you. And
absolutely.
You scare them because you actually have the knowledge behind what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Which usually some artists do not.
Yeah. And last bit of advice: keep being creative. Just keep doing it. The world needs music. Let's keep it rolling. We've got it. So don't ever feel disheartened. Be realistic, but don't ever feel disheartened.
Yeah. Next questions. What tips do you have for the students in here, or any students that are finding studies challenging, and what helped you when you were struggling to learn things on your instrument or in the music industry?
For me, just pace. It's pace. Like I was kind of saying earlier, take a step back, try and analyze what it is that's difficult. Is it a physical thing? Is it a mental thing? Try to analyze what it is. Don't think too deeply, because the more you think, the more you could scramble everything up. But you do need to take. If it's something that's struggling, take a bit of time, and then I would say, if you want to revisit it yourself, by all means do it. But start slow. There are so many difficult things. I still do it now when I'm practicing. Like, there'll be things I go, oh God, I could do that, or no, I can't. Take it slow, and just work through the tempos. I do it in like fives, maybe start 80, 85, 99, 5. Just work slow. And then try to think of those permutations of things that you need to practice, and repetition, like you were saying, is what gives you that confidence in what you're doing. And then if it's on the course and things like theory, I remember theory is an interesting one for me, because being a drummer predominantly, musical theory is, I do a lot of, like I say, we were talking, composition and writing, and what's also become orchestral arrangements as well. Now, by no means was I think I failed my A-level classical analysis thing, wow. But I took a lot of information from it, and there are things I still remember from it, but it's stuff that I apply to music and find my thing that works for me. So I use the numbers system a lot. I'm always yelling in numbers, the natural number system, and then a lot of the way I work is in through ear. So I would use I would, if I'm doing a string arrangement, I know there are certain classical rules that you would use, like no parallel fifths, or don't, how you split the instruments. So that I learned from that failed A level. But then I got A+ in whatever it was in performance and composition. So that's that was the other side of it. But then you can find the thing that works for you in how you do it. So and use your ear. You know what sounds right and what sounds wrong. You get the thing. Oh, you go, oh, that's lush. So yeah, take that time to figure out whether it's something that you can kind of amend to work for yourself. Theory can be hard. Theory is a tricky thing. Music theory, reading's really important. I've actually not done that many reading gigs, or had to have gigs where I have to read, but I did teach myself to read music. But drum music, real music, I think my kid probably reads better than me. Now. I do all the rhythms, that's fine. Rhythms, drum music, no problem. But the notation is when it gets into like left hand, right hand, I'm like, that's. But it's just persevere and keep going and find the thing that works for you. And finally, if you're really struggling, you can't find the thing yourself, talk, speak to as many people as you can, get their advice. Pick their brains. Have your that they can help direct and sort of correlate all your thoughts, and you can find out, because maybe you might even find, maybe I might need to be playing a different instrument, or maybe I need to be a studio guy, or maybe I need to think differently here. Because interestingly, there's so many jobs in the music industry. People say I'm in the music industry, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you could be an electrician. Yeah. We had carpenters. You have carpenters building sets. You're still in the music industry, but you're a carpenter. Yeah. So there's so many things you can do: management, promotions, PR, record label, mixing, studio runner, studio manager. There's so many business elements. So yeah, just find the thing. But don't give up. Don't give up. Just think about realigning. That's what I try to do. Come at it with a different tactic.
Thank you. Well, yeah. I hope that helps anyone that potentially could be struggling and might struggle in the future. A good question, which is kind of related to what we were talking about just a second ago. Do you think music theory affects the emotion of a song? Which is kind of a dope question, because I understand the angle of where you're coming from, Jess. Keep asking questions, guys. I think all knowledge is good knowledge. So the more knowledge that you have is really good. If you're talking in the sense of reading, I know that a lot of players that read they they may read without feeling. So in the sense, they could not be conveying emotion, but they're not doing anything wrong. They're just reading it like just as it is. Yeah. But I think one of the most important things is feel an emotion, that how you play a song or how you build a song, or your song playing is one of the most important things. It's like a story. If you just climax in the intro and you go downwards after, it's just never going to work. If you're playing a 90-minute set, you want to put a good balance of songs and end on a high, but you want to get to that high. So I think I say that to say feeling and emotion is very important, but music theory doesn't stop that. I think if you can combine the both and know how to bring your music theory into playing songs, then you could get a perfect balance. If you can learn how to read, that would be great. I'm learning how to read slowly but surely, but it'll be great. You'll be open to a different side of work if you can do it. But as like Ricky said, he hasn't had much opportunities in where he's had to do it. But at the same time, had he not been able to do it, he wouldn't have had the few opportunities that he did do that required him to read. I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, Rick.
Nah, yeah, pretty much what you said, man. I would just say the best readers are the ones that take it and make it their own. That's the thing. You take the score, you go, okay, great, and then play and do your thing with it. You know, especially with drums, it's always a bit. Drums, you know, it's kind of, you can kind of read the drums parts more likely by just having the melody sheet, you know.
Yeah.
With that, or maybe the bass line or something. But yeah, fundamentally, it's take it and make it your own. Like if you know, especially when you watch classical and they're repeating that night after night, but how they repeat that passage, practicing to get their emotion into it. And you know, when some concert pianists could make you cry, other concert pianists you just sort of be a bit paisley. So you can't, you know, and it's just that feel and emotion. And it can also be on the night, can't it? You know, the more emotional you are, there's just magic sometimes in the air. Sometimes you can capture that magic, the more people will want to work with you. So it's same as what you said, Levi, is very important, but combine the two.
Yeah. I think anyone who's interested should check out the guys that are on The Voice, because they read, but they have a job of conveying the song, what it requires. They can't just sound like a robot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another question. Because of coronavirus, many shows have been cancelled and the industry has been hard hit with no way of predicting what happens next. What would you advise musicians to do during our time of lockdown to prepare for post-COVID performing life? Have there been any things you both have been doing musically at the moment? Well, the same advice that we would be giving you. It's like, I think we all need advice in this period of time. You can answer that, man. You're probably more positive than I am.
Get a job working for Amazon. Get your driver's license. Burger flipper. That's fine. They're going to need some. It's like, oh, fine. I'll do it. If you that'll do. But no, I would say it's a hard one. This. It's interesting because my wife is working for a PR. A business strategy company, and I'm hearing regularly like about different strategies for this, that, this, and you see it online as well, what people are doing. And I often say to them, well, what for the music industry then? You know, as soon as this hit, COVID, my personal opinion was straight, where it's like, well, we ain't gigging for at least a year. And it's so far that's happening, I think possibly maybe even more. Yeah, sadly, even more. So, I think if you for those people who are established as far as gigs go, you know, this is not just it's all musicians, theatre people, everything. But those with established jobs, the gigs should come back. I think there'll be maybe a few mid-level bands where you know maybe the they might fall away if they can't survive. But fundamentally, it's their only way of making money, so they need to do it too. So everybody needs to find a way. I think there's going to be a money issue as far as the wage. We were talking earlier how it's never gone up. Well, it certainly ain't going up after this. I think that will definitely be a thing. But also, that's a double-edged sword as well, because of promoter. You know, I was reading something today from Live Nation, like how they're now putting the onus on the artist to take the losses and to take the risks, whereas before the promoters would take the risks, be it SJM, Live Nation, or whoever is putting on the shows. Now they're trying to, you know, the guarantees are getting reduced. It's in the Billboards, Rolling Stone magazine. If you look it up, Live Nation, Rolling Stone, it's like, you know, artists to take the risk for the shows. And the first thing I'm thinking was, well, do they get more money at the end of this then, if that's the case? You know, because again, this is when for me, this is my honest opinion of the music industry by what has happened in this, and it's just something I observe, and you know, I'm 39 now, so 29, no 39, but I would say. The music industry I was there obviously since the start of things like Spotify and Apple. So I always knew going to the shop, buying a CD, often importing it from America, 20 quid, you know, people would pay money for physical copies of music. And this is associated to COVID in the same way. I think that what we're at is that at the moment, there is really big holes in the music industry and how we are structured. I don't really have the answer because I think it's hard to think about it. But one of the things that I'm acutely aware of at the moment is how much we give away in the music industry for nothing. Yeah. You don't get Lewis Hamilton driving around a track going, hey guys, watch me just do this a couple of times, and you know, and then I put the car away and see you next week. I'll do the same thing for free. You know, it's something that we, as musicians and artists, are forced to do because of the advent of the internet, and we have to give it away for free in order to, it's a talent that we've spent our hard money learning how to do by being at university, taking out loans to survive, to buy food. We practice and we give our time to the art, and yet at the same time, in order to promote, or in times like this, because it is an art or an art form, we end up giving it away for nothing. So, you know, we get a lot of live performances on the internet, and the problem is, at all levels, the problem is you end up with, you know, the guy who plays at the Dog and Duck on a Saturday night, on a Friday night at the next pub, and then so he plays 3 nights a week for £200 a night. His gig is completely gone as well. But suddenly, if you've got people doing stuff online for nothing, why are the people online that need to charge money, they can't make money? Because a lot of people are like, oh man, it's almost like, you know, that entertainment industry is like an add-on to somebody else's business, and you can, you know, those people are getting money from a pub chain because that's the way they make their money, through the music. It's not so much the song. So where I think what I'm trying to get at is that I think that something about how artists get paid, songs, royalties, performance royalties, something needs to change in the fact that we are not so heavily reliant on a live. I mean, live is so important. Let's keep that with what we're doing. But we also need to generate income from the music that we're making. Because if we don't, like, you know, I looking at the streaming things, and everyone's, you know, been said, and yes, you can make money out of it, but it means there's not enough money in the industry, so like artists can't support their crews in times like this, and you know, it's like everyone becomes disposable. It becomes a bit of a desperate scramble to try to recreate something, and then you get in these drive-in concerts, right? And again, in this is just my opinion, and I might be wrong, but for me, that's not how I want to watch music. I know we're trying to make it something, but I don't know, man. I'm like, yeah, I think so. I agree. For me, it's more like, but I appreciate that there's a load of people out there, sound guys, production companies, lighting companies, techs, camera people, all be working on these things that need to generate income. So it's a real, but that's what I mean. Like, this is where it's kind of showed that it's like there's a lot of holes in the industry. It's still a little bit without, we don't have contracts in a lot of the industry things we do. You just ask for a gig and you send an email, and it's like there's a lot of it just feels less support. When this happens, the support is ripped from under your feet, and you go, oh my, you realize how exposed you are doing what you're doing, as are many people. However, a lot of people in the music industry, because it's a creative industry as well, may be set up in the way that may not work for the furlough scheme, or say like young musicians, that kind of thing, where you just don't want your tax return or whatever it is. So again, it's absolute extreme. And so I firstly, I'd like to see something from the industry that protects, that we just start to respect, musicians, productions, crowds, the artists, just a little bit more. Just as far as songwriting royalties, revenue streams for songs, things like maybe we should just be a little bit more thoughtful on what we do when we put our stuff out on Facebook, and even like lessons, people like giving away lessons for free. Like So let's teach. Not only do we give it away for free, let's teach people else how to do it for free. You go, that's cool, but then we can't really complain if we can't make money to survive, because we don't make any money because we've given everything away. Like, what are we going to do now? And we can't play music. So I think
it'll definitely be harder for us to call it a job after this period. Yeah,
man, it is. It's an interesting one, but I do think it will come back, and I do think people will long for live music. I think the changes will definitely be in the wages. I think the contracts with the contracts are already changing with the promoters. I think artists will be asked, and are being asked, to take a lot more of the burden of risk on their shoulders. Make sure if you're an artist that you are compensated for that. That is the key. You must, because otherwise, you're not doing it. You're doing it for your expression, but if you're doing it as a career, make sure it's a career. Make sure that you are earning. You need to protect yourself. That's why I say be across the business side of things, and understand. Of course, I understand. I'm not. The Live Nation have got massive. They have to do something. Everybody has to do something. But it's just and just like artists and record labels had to react to Spotify. But it just seems that all the time you're going like, we're okay, cool, all right, well, that's fine. And then suddenly you go, well, I'm not making any money from my music anymore because it's just being downloaded or streamed. And I'm going, well, great. Then what about the producer who's now used to get paid 10 grand to produce one record? He's now getting 10 grand to produce an album.
Yeah.
Because of this, there's no money in the money is reduced. So, so there's that. I think it's interesting, the performance thing about the singers. I was reading the government, they said something like 3 meters, 6 singers on the stage, 3 meters between each singer, 6 meters. I was like, oh, right. I think we're going to face a lot of this, because I don't fundamentally think a lot of people understand what we do.
I think we're definitely undervalued for sure, man. And I don't think after this period we're going to be valued much more. I feel like people will forget everything we've done.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, oh no, because they can just watch it on YouTube. That's why. You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, that's cool, great, love it. So that's the thing. I think the thinking outside the box thing is important. But I think it will take a collaboration, or whether it's the MU or whether it's to think about it together a little bit more. But talking to production companies, talking to what we all need as a business to survive, because it's a brilliant business and it's a great business, and there will be a future in it because everybody loves music, and we need to keep that positivity because it's really important. It's just where we go from here. I think the next year will be rocky. But then from there, stuff will happen. But hopefully, I'd like to think, we can work with a whole bunch of the bodies to try to find a way that sort of protects the people a lot more. I always feel for the crews, as well. It's when you're a musician, and the crews, there's techs, guys that change the strings, and there's a guy that changes strings. He's not getting any money. There's no strings to change anymore. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but that's what he did, and he set your things up, and he made sure you had your drink, and he made sure there was precious bass, and So yeah, it affects a lot of people. I think there's something like 3.6 billion pounds that GDP, the music industry, brings into the UK, which is massive. So I think it's that. It's a leading industry in the world. So I'd like to see some welcome support for it from the government a little bit, and I'd like to see us being able to do what we do again. Driving concerts, they're going to be here for a while, but ultimately,
I hope not, man.
Yeah, man. I think people are going to get bored of standing next to a car, and I don't know. I think personally, it's going to be hard to police.
Yeah.
In the long run, they've got bars on site and stuff. It's going to be difficult, maybe. But look, if it gets people going and gets money happening, then that's important for them. So that's the thing. What have I been doing? During COVID, it's been interesting. I have done a lot more work in the studio, which has been nice. I've been working with Melanie a lot and doing her online performances, which has been really fun. And we have to get creative about ways to make it fresh and to think about ways to turn things over quickly, because it's very easy you realize how easy it is to get 4 or 5 of us, 6 of us, 7 of us in a room, play, record it, and go, okay, it's done, cool. But when you're doing it across the internet and you're chucking it from bit to person to person and trying to do videos, every song takes a day. You're like going, it shouldn't take a day, it takes 10 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy. But you've got to embrace it and do it. And it's been fun. And, you learn new ways to do things. It's fun. So, yeah, I think that's good. And it's kept me busy. So that's great. And I've also done a few things for myself as well, just playing about and enjoying the studio, really. So, yeah, a bit of that. Not done too much playing, but every now and then I jump on the kit and have a bit of a play. And, yeah. It's cool.
Yeah. I just wanted to pick up, what would you advise musicians to do during our time in lockdown and to prepare for COVID? Ricky did touch that a little bit. I want to expand, but I think now would be a perfect time to network with people because everyone's at home. Like, everyone is checking their phone. So with Instagram and Twitter now, people are accessible. I saw a musical director today saying that he's got auditions, and I was like, really? Even though there's no live music industry, but he's holding auditions. So like something like that's a good way to connect with people and then get yourself on the map. So when after this thing is over, then boom, you get a phone call because you met someone in this period of time. I think it's a perfect opportunity to practice and better ourselves at our craft. We won't get free time like this ever again, especially when you start working.
Yeah. Great advice, man.
More questions. What advice would you give to mature students wanting to enter the music industry later in their career?
Do it. I'd say enjoy, man. Like I think there's room for everyone, and whatever it is, I would say, like I said before, like there's a job for everyone. It doesn't just have to be like instrument playing. It can be anything. Even if you start by playing an instrument and then you start making some money doing something else, but you can still play your instrument for a hobby or whatever, or one leads to another. I think that can happen at any time. So I would say, yeah, I would definitely say don't expect to be playing on the latest, hippest pop gig. I think a lot of time, young musicians, I actually think young musicians are asked a lot because generally they are, as much as they're fresh, I also think it's because the more people, or the longer you're in the game or the longer you're in the music industry, the more you've learned about things, and younger musicians will do things for less money.
Yeah, they're easier to exploit.
Yeah, absolutely. And, but as they learn, or as you experience and go through, because I was exactly the same. And as you go through, you're like, oh man, like, wow, that's a long day. When you've done a 10 till 10, you're like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to do that again. That's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, but you've done it and you've seen it, and you go, oh man, it's going to have to be this, it's going to have to be that. And then, so I just think that's the thing, but also because they're the next breed of musician, and that's what we need, pass the mantle, people will be doing it. So I would say as a mature student, I'd say it's not that you couldn't be playing in the next young pop band, but definitely I would say, you know, you don't expect to be jumping in and doing those kind of things, but at the same time, you know, as long as you find your thing, find the thing that's going to give you that drive and ability to sustain a career, or even if you partner it with something else to start with, so that you're not risking everything. Because when you're young, it doesn't matter. You can take that risk. You know, when you're older, you know, or if you maybe you can take that risk, and if you can, fab, you know, just go for it. But yeah, like I said, so many avenues. So I would say do it, and just again, set yourself your goals, make them realistic, and work to them. You know, use the same principles.
Sweet. What advice would you give to students from a BAME background wanting to enter the music industry?
Again, for me, like I would say, just be yourself. Do what you do. I mean, I think that from my experience of the musical industry, I think it's generally from where I am, being a musical director and a sort of band put together. I think it's incredibly culturally diverse, I've always found. I mean, I'd say, you know, every band I've played in the pop industry has been like multicultural, and say, you know, with girls, boys, and there's always going to be a time when visual is important, generally with TV mimes, things like that, and you have to not take offence. I suppose it happens both ways. I've had not got gigs for TV mimes because they want a particular look or a particular style or even a female. You know, it's like, so just that is just the way of, you know, to us, we're like, man, like, why is the visual more important than the music?
Yeah.
That's how we feel.
Sadly, the visuals, they do care. A lot of artists and management care about the visuals.
Exactly.
I think one of the last gigs, what's that girl from America, Lizzo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was meant to do a live lounge with her, and then they said, no, we want an all-female band. It's just like,
yeah.
It's not about the ability, but sometimes the looks.
Yeah, exactly. And I think everybody will have experienced that in music. I don't know many who wouldn't have done. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, yeah, I would say, yeah, I think we're lucky in music, because I think I can't really speak from label management side, but I see a lot of multicultural in music, and I think it's a leading industry from that side. I know there's probably a few things that people say, oh, you know, you might go, well, you know, we have, you know, I think there tends to be less black female artists, isn't there, in the UK? Because I used to work with Jamelia, and she was amazing because she was so young, and you know, yeah, she was one of the first, I think, wasn't she? Like, you know, and you know, and yeah, she's great and good laugh, Jim. Yeah, but yeah, you know, ultimately, yeah, you just you've just got to do what you do and keep doing the music. And I think as long as you focus on the fact that it's the music, and you know in your heart that it's the music, your expression, then I think you're coming into an industry that is open-minded to all the cultural change, and I think if not, I think in our industry you get found out pretty quick, and you know, a lot of people stick up for each other and look after each other. Yeah. And yeah, so I would say, yeah, I'd say just be yourself, be confident, and you're coming into a good industry. But there'll be far more things to worry about than you know, cultural inequalities, and I think primarily financials. You know, like that's the big thing at the minute, I'd say. But yeah, I'd say it's good, but it's a good industry, I think.
Sweet. I just want to ask you a few questions, more personal, like about experiences. How did you go about getting gigs, like, and tours, like, just generally? Was there a specific route? Okay.
Yeah, network, man. Yeah, I tell you what, I always said, I did a couple of masterclasses, and people ask me this question a lot. And one thing I would say is, never be afraid to do any of the gigs, and I know I was banging on earlier about doing free gigs, but I mean, when you're doing your promoting your stuff, you've got to do free gigs. You know what I'm saying? Like you're doing free. You're doing your. We used to go down the Bedford Arms actually in London. It's a great spot. I'm sure some of you may know it. And we used to work there, and I became really good friends with Tony Moore, the promoter. He's a lovely, lovely man. But from that, you get recommended. So we do that. Function gigs, fantastic, because they pay you money, you learn songs, you learn other people's songs and craft, you get paid, and you go home. It is brilliant from that side. But you can play with anybody. You know, you know, it doesn't matter. If I did a function gig with Levi, suddenly I'm playing with Stormzy's bass player. It's like, I didn't know that. Oh, amazing, man. And that's how you meet people. And if you're on your game and you do a great job and you come prepped, you learn, people are going to call you for other stuff. Cool, be cool, always come prepared, always try to be on time. And yeah, just be confident and enjoy yourself and love your music. And I think gigs will come, but networking, doing gigs of all levels, and then you work your way up. And then I think, once you meet production managers, tour managers, record label managers, you know, people, you know, through these things, then stuff starts to happen.
Sweet.
Yeah.
How was it building one of the most iconic tours of the last decade?
It was a privilege.
Okay.
It was a privilege. The guys that I was working with as well were excessively clever, and very driven and knew exactly what they wanted. And as a musical director, you kind of, you know, I got my freedom of expression to an extent. But then, you know, you work to the blueprint. You know, the girls have the vision. The creative director is the overseer of all. You know that it's you know, with some other setups, you know, when the setups are smaller, you take on more roles. So, for example, as a musical director, I'm actually probably talking about the show director as well. You know, I like to work with choreographers if there are, because it just helps. I don't want to, you know, you get someone. More importantly, you get someone watching from the other side. You know, it's important yourself. So, but. This one, obviously, you know, because it was so big, you had, you know, a lot of ideas in the melting pot. So a lot of the time what I was doing was reactive to suggestions. Yeah. So I would have, it would be, we need a string piece here, we need that. And I might, you know, every now and then I say, well, what if we did that? And they go, okay, cool. Or they say, not sure about this. Yeah. But then, like, you know, you would take ideas and bits from conversations and then create the piece of music. So I did a lot of, I did the string interludes, the you know, the carnival intro and stuff like that. So that was my freedom of expression. It was brilliant, you know, being able to do that. And the nice thing was that because the stage was so big, the girls needed time to get to the quick change areas. Yeah. So the choreographer would, like, I'd get an email late at night saying, oh, we need another 15 seconds. And I'd go, oh, great, okay, fine. So I get back tomorrow, go to my string arrangement thing and go, right, let's put another 15. How do I do that? It's another 15. And then I'd get an email the week later saying, we actually need another minute and 30. You know, I'm thinking, oh no. Like, so I've got to find ways of being creative. Again, I would use key changes, tempo changes. To make it quick and efficient, you could use the same sort of patterns, but just change the key. So you could have an A-B section and then just change the key 3 times, and suddenly you've got, from 30 seconds of music, you've got a minute and 30. But you could then tempo the last one if you're just doing strings, and it's a bit quicker and it's building as long as it falls in, you know, and then amend them and then change them and then go. Once you've done that, then you can kind of change pieces of music from there, you know. So that was the thing. It was nice having references. References were important because, you know, especially with the choreographer, they have their vision of what they want people to dance to. So you need to work into a reference is great, because you can then, the key to that is to hear what it is they're hearing in that. So, you know, reference in a chat, once you get what they're hearing and what, you know, then you're not wasting your time. Yeah. So that was fabulous. But yeah, it was amazing. And then musically, the goal was literally to not get clever. The goal was to read Spice Girls music as the Spice Girls music and play it solid. And, you know, some tours and some gigs you can get creative and do all sorts of wacky things, but this one wasn't about that. It was about staying. And to be honest, I think also it worked better because in a stadium it is such a big space that the music just needs to be clean and clear and powerful. The more you put in, the less it translates in a big space. So yeah, it was amazing. It was a privilege. It was a privilege.
It looks really dope. How many weeks? How long was rehearsal? How long did you rehearse for?
Yeah, rehearsal was 6 weeks.
That's rare in this day.
Yeah, man. And then I was probably working on the pre-production we started rehearsals in May. No, it was April, I think. And I was working on the pre-production from January.
Damn.
So January, February, March was all the pre-production. So the programming, the original string pieces and everything, and then we'd get to rehearsals and be as fully prepped as possible.
Yeah. One thing I would point out here, guys, as Ricky said earlier, be able to do more than just one thing. But Ricky being able to be a musical director, a drummer, and a programmer. A lot of people have a programmer to program for them, but Ricky being able to do it himself adds a lot more value for one, and for two, he's able just to get out of his bed and program, and he doesn't need anyone to do that. When someone sends him an email and says we need more seconds to an intro or interlude, he can do that all himself. So I think it's good to learn much more than just playing an instrument. And yeah,
man, absolutely. I did that from learning my production and songwriting, but yeah, it was a great thing. But yeah, using that and apply those skills to cause I used to be like trying to be an artist and whatnot, and did that, and then apply those skills to the programming, and that's the thing. Yeah.
I see Lassie popping up.
Yeah, I did. I just had a look on the time because it's going so fast.
Sorry.
Should we? And guys, I don't want to keep you here all night, but it's super interesting. I'm really enjoying it. Should we do like one or two last questions and then kind of?
If you guys want to ask, just that, if you guys had any more questions, I guess that'll be more meaningful if we answered them. I see one more that we haven't answered by Cameron. Did you have a strategy to achieve success, or what kind of pathway led you to where you are? Is there anything we could do that will help us become more successful? I think, for one, there's no actual route in the industry. Like, I think everyone's had a different route, whether they've come from different backgrounds or the same backgrounds. It's happened in different ways for everyone else. So I don't think you could even plan to get there. But one thing that a lot of people that get to the top have in common is that they're actually really good at their craft, or they're actually either good at their craft or they have a lot of knowledge. So I think just be really great at what you do and be a really cool person. Like, be cool to tour with, be cool to chill with, like, be cool off stage, like, be cool just to hang around with. And then when you get on stage, or you spending 6 weeks rehearsing, like, you don't want to be spending 6 weeks rehearsing with someone that's not even cool to talk to. But is there anything else you would add?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think that's it. Like, be understanding, be a great human first. That's the thing. I agree with you there. And then I would say, strategy-wise, my strategy was, I thought I'm going to go to college because I'll meet people or contacts or someone there. They would give me a guidance to how I could move forward, which in turn, I think about it now, is things like this, isn't it? You're going to learn and get information. So that was the first part of my strategy. Practice hard, make sure I can play music. That's the first, off you go. That's the fundamental. Then, go to college, get guidance, try to find the thing. And then once you finish college, that's it. Yeah, you are on your own out in the big wide world. But I would say, like I said, the more gigging and networking you could do from a strategy perspective, the better. And, if you're a singer, learn to sing some BVs. Doesn't matter if you're an artist. Just sing some BVs. Even if you only do 3 gigs and you hate it, at least you said, I've done 3 gigs and I hate it. Or you might do it and go, hang on a minute, I've done 3 gigs and I've made 750 quid. I'm happy with that. Brilliant. Yeah. So fundamentally, it's like these things. I never planned to be a musical director. I said when the first musical director job I had was Jamelia. And I never forget, like, the manager came over and I'd got a phone call and said, "Oh, Jamelia needs a band on Friday. Can you do it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, fine." I just thought it was a band. And at the time, I was doing original music. So I had, so exactly. So I was doing, like, with my mates, trying to make an album, trying to be an artist as a band, doing our thing, pushing it out there, recording. I ended up doing a lot of the Pro Tools in because I taught myself because someone needed to do it. Like I was saying about multi-skills, it's really important. And so then I got so we stood there backstage and I met the manager for the first time, and he says, so who's the MD? I did not even know what MD meant. I just said, in my head, I was like, oh, that must be the guy that answered the telephone. I was like, well, that's me. I didn't phone call. And then he goes, excellent. I was like, oh, brilliant. And then I thought, well, hang on, I'm the guy pressing start and stop. I suppose that might mean I'm that. And so then suddenly, I'm getting phone calls about the gigs, and then I'm sending the information to the band, and I'm going, okay, all right, well, I'm doing more work than anyone else. This is annoying me. And then suddenly you start to realise, someone you want to change the length of the song, but we've just put it on the playback. Oh God, all right, I'll do it. So you got to get, and then you chop it to pieces, but it's falling on me. Okay, that's what an MD is. I'm starting to see this, and then so I'm reacting to the situation. And when you see an opportunity, I didn't even see the opportunity, but I was like, okay, cool. And suddenly it was, all right, well, that's what I'm going to do. So I just started to I got a lot of my work from, being a friend of mine I was working with was a tour manager, and he was a really wonderful man and a great champion for things I was doing. Mm-hmm. And he would play my songs that I'd written, because I then went into songwriting. Instead of having my own band, I went into songwriting. He would play my songs to artists while he was driving around, and they'd be like, oh, that's cool, who's this guy? And then some of them I'd record with, some of them I wouldn't, but then once I recorded with them, then we were like talking about the band, and then I said, well, I can play as well. And it's like, oh, great. So then we'd put the band together, and then it all sort of rolled from there, really. So that's how a lot of it came together. But I think the main strategy was, I suppose, to again, like we're saying, to make yourself as accessible and do as many things as you can. So both in your playing and your singing and instrument wise, and then tech wise, and then being savvy for the business, because ultimately one of my other jobs is to represent. I have to represent musicians. So when there's someone who feels that they're being underpaid, or someone that feels that they're not happy because they're being treated unfairly by the artist or the production manager or something, I have to step in and talk, and be able to negotiate. And whether it's talking to the musician themselves and saying, guys, listen, man, like, that's just the way it is. Would you rather be here, or would you rather be, playing Call of Duty? What because is this one going to change? Or on the flip side, you might say, okay, well, we can chat and sort this out with the artists, and you have to have awful conversations sometimes. And so I don't. But again, it's my job to take a wider look at the wider picture and go, this is what's fair. This is what I think is a balance, and this is what I can ask people to do and or not to do. That's so it's a people job as much as it is a musical job and creative job, and being fast is key as well. Like, you would know that, as well. When someone tells you to change, let's change the key, put it up semitone. All right, fine, go. That. It's just you want to be quick, on it, aware, fast, make yourself indispensable by anybody, whoever it is, whether it's the owner of the Dog and Duck. It's a good pub, Dog and Duck. There isn't actually a Dog and Duck down there. Whether it's the owner of the Dog and Duck, make him believe that he can't have a Friday night without you, because he's putting in a couple of grand on that Friday night, and he needs to pay you because he knows how good you are. So it's not, you just doing your job brilliantly will make him feel, and you're a nice guy. So I think, and then in situations like COVID as well, when the Dog and Duck opens up, you've got the relationship again. So when I was saying those with employment and previous jobs, will support you. So nurture those relationships, nurture those things, as you were saying, like the networking, the nurturing is really important too. So definitely, do that. But strategy-wise, essentially be cool, work hard, and be open-minded to take opportunities when they arrive.
Were there any more questions that any of you guys want to ask? Please ask questions. Like, I don't think we'll ever have an opportunity like this again.
I have a question for you.
Okay, go on.
I've never played headline Glastonbury. How was that?
Nah, that was incredible, man. as it looked, it was like the feeling inside was really dope. And I remember the night before, I was watching all the previous performances, and then to go and do that the next day, and that's there for life. Like, it's really crazy, man. Honestly.
Yeah, man. That's it. That's awesome. I felt the same way about Wembley. Like doing Wembley was like stepping out on that stage. I mean, we were lucky. We had 3 nights there, but to walk out. I mean, I drove because I lived down out of town, and that Wednesday night I drove up, and we were staying in a hotel just around the corner, like literally opposite the stadium. Mm-hmm. And I parked my car in. I've done many a function at Wembley, you know, and been many a gig there or matches or whatever. And so I parked my car in the red car park right next to the backstage. I literally had the spot that was like, you know, it's public car park. Like, I in there and went, oh, this is weird because it's like 10:30 at night. No one's here. It's silent. I have my wheelie bag and I'm walking down to the hotel and I look at it going like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then you know, the next day, hearing the sound checking the drums, you can hear it whizzing around in the stadium. I'm still in the hotel thinking, who's playing my drums now? You know, and then then going to do that on the first night, and it was brilliant because we always had this bit in the show where we introduced the band and then we changed it. I
saw that.
It was a calamity every night, but it was really, in the end, it was like, oh my, originally we were just like, can we just wave and go like that? But then it became, now we had to do something, then it changed, and we started playing songs and everyone loved it, and then the girls were like, let's play Guess the Tune. All right, fine. And so it became all sorts of crazy stuff. But it was really funny that a gig that big, that organised, could have something like that, and it's so personal and so silly and just complete calamity. But but I thought it was great, and to me that was one of the things that is the Spice Girls. They are off the cuff, they are crazy, and it was like it gave a little bit of something in the show. You know, it was something every night. It was something. That's all I can say. But yeah, it was good. But yeah, so then stepping out of Wembley, and then the last night was just like, you know, it's astonishing. It was astonishing.
It's those type of shows that make this whole thing like worth what we do, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing, and seeing the reaction of people when you get that, and it can happen in a, you know, even if it's an academy or even in a pub. I mean, I've been doing duo gigs in a pub with my brother, and you literally, I'd sing 30% of the gig. The rest of the gig, everyone else was singing and crowd surfing. We had crowd surfing in the pub to a duo. It's like, and all we're doing is playing, but we're playing covers, and you're playing like Oasis, and everyone's going, whoa! And you go like, and it's basically, you go, this is what, you know, times that by 100,000, and you've got Glastonbury or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's the wondrous, beautiful thing about music that gives me hope in the post-COVID thing. You know, when you go, I know this, people want that, they want that. So we've got to, you know, we all want it, and it will be back, but it's just, you know, as and when it's time. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One more question. Levi, what's Stormzy like to play with? Do you know what's crazy? Just, I prayed last year that I would either do Glastonbury or the Spice Girls tour, and Ricky didn't call me for the Spice Girls. What's Stormzy like to play with? Stormzy's cool, man. He's chilled. I think the more comfortable he is with everyone is the more he's trusting with the music and the arrangements. He doesn't like too much change from the track, but he doesn't like the track to be how it is on the track. So it's just enhancing the track and making it a live show. And then we're all allowed to put our own stamp on it. But yeah, any more questions? Wow, silent, man.
I love that, Levi. It's so true, man. It's like you've got to be it's like being sympathetic to the music, but just putting enough in to make it something, you know, giving it a bit of something.
Yeah, it's important, man.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to go outside and just play the record, but you don't want to do too much.
No. Yeah, exactly. Just give it that. I also think that there's an element as well, like you stick it on some live instruments, and especially with production these days, there's no doubt a lot of it is well, there was a lot more live instruments than there used to be now, coming back again. But ultimately, you stick things on a drum set, or even just using samples, you know, or like with drums or whatnot. Then, you know, you get you know, things start to sound, just to have that extra flavour of human. Again, it's the beauty of music coming through. we can never get away from it, you know, because it's weird. I often look at these things on Facebook where it's like, write a song using this app. So you can get an app and it does a chord sequence for you and everything. You do, you like, wow, I'm like, okay, cool. So whatever happened to like songwriters and, you know, George Gershwin, people that really like wrote songs, and you go, this is crazy. But you know what? You're never going to get rid of it, because it is genuinely brilliant, and it is something that a computer can't really do.
Yeah.
Can't do it. So yeah.
True.
So,
guys, any more questions before I hand back to Lasse? Or
these were definitely great last words, if they are the last words. We're not getting replaced. There will always be music. I think that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think so. There will always be music.
Yeah, let's hope so, man.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it will. And yeah, no, thank you so much, like to both of you. It was really, really cool to have you here to get these, you know, inside knowledge from people who are in the industry, who are, you know, playing some of the biggest shows of the country, probably. And yeah, no, it was really a pleasure to have you here. And
thank you for having us, Ricky. Where can I find you? Are you on Instagram, Ricky? Because we can't.
No, you know me. Levi always tells me this. This is great. I'm so bad. I don't do Instagram or Facebook. I'm like one of the few that so like social networking. I am the worst. I'm the worst person to talk to about social.
I think it's really good that you don't, because you're showing that you can still get to the highest level without having it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, my networking is done through phone calls and just staying with you know, in touch with people that are being, you know, but people generally, they want to stay in touch with you if you're a nice guy, you know, and then it's kind of, and you know, always make yourself indispensable, always be cool, and then that's it really. But I think there's a lot to be said for it, and I think where it gets difficult with the social media thing is there's just so much of it, and there's so many people doing it, and it's it would be hard to work out, like, you know, for example, endorsements are a really interesting thing, aren't they, when you talk about that? Because someone with 1 million Twitter or Instagram followers, for example, I would probably be quite bad for an endorsement company at that level. Because I have no one that they're going to get their product out to other than the people that come to the gigs. You know, or want to interview me, it's going to go out through their social media channels. However, if there are people who don't even play a gig, but they've got a million social media followers that will get in and are able to get endorsements because they can have those products. So it's just a different way of thinking, isn't it? It's like you've got to think, you know, I guess my thoughts on it is like, and endorsements themselves, I'm like, what do I need an endorsement for? I need an endorsement because sometimes sometimes I might need 2 drum kits in 2 different places. I like to that I'm going to get the same kit as much as possible when I'm playing it. Sometimes it's nice just to, you know, I need a different setup for certain gigs, and you go, well, you know, I will. That's why I have an endorsement. But that was a relationship I nurtured from the start as well. You know, it was through a friend started, and I initially just needed some cymbals. It was actually for Jamelia. I was like, I just need some. I've only got like 2 cymbals. You know, I was like, I've got these that are bigger than that. So, you know, they said, oh, speak to Martin. So I spoke to Martin, got on a Posty thing. And then from there, they just supported me the whole time. And then Martin always said, whenever you need a drum kit, let me know. I can do a Mapex. I was like, wow. So and I was a bit of a snob. I was like, oh, I've got DW. I don't need that. So now I just realised, well, first of all, I was like, it's a lot better to not take your own drum kit on the road. For one. And then secondly, I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. And I played it. The first gig I used on was Nadine Girls Loud from Nadine. And Nadine from Girls Loud, and played it. And I was like, actually, this is great. You know, it's a great sounding kit. And again, I know from watching 30 people play the same instrument, it never sounds the same. It just sounds like you. So I'm not a drum snob. I'm like, as long as you're happy with it, it's reliable. You can get good support, good spares when you need them. For me, I'm like that. I'm cool with that, which is why, like, for me, I've never changed and I won't change. And out of respect to the companies that have supported me since I was starting, and, you know, I was really happy and that I could, you know, get them a spot at Wembley, you know, doing the spot. Obviously, they you know, guys their gear. So it's exactly. I just believe in that, like, as much as possible to give back where we can. and stay loyal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, thank you all for having us, man.
Yeah, brilliant.
And speak soon. Thanks for everyone who was tuning in and listening and asking questions. And see you all very soon.
Man, hit me up on Instagram if you guys ever have a question, man. I'm open. So.
Yeah, Levi.
Ricky, how about you?
If you have a question for me, just ask Levi.
Yeah, what about me?
But again, thanks so much for listening as well, and thanks for inviting me. It was lovely to do, and I know Levi texted me, and you know, again, it's strange. Is that one of these things? What were you doing in lockdown to do things that were this? You know, it's great. You get to reminisce and talk about things that you would never have. You know, you're constantly on the next thing, and this has been really lovely. And I hope that you all got some useful information. And you know, most importantly, definitely stay positive, stay with it, and keep bringing the music to the people. That's what they need, and that's what we need. So, yeah.
Okay.
Great. Nothing more to say to that one. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No worries, guys. Lovely to meet you all.
Catch you in a bit. See you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.